Before we start today's video, check out our merch shop, linked in the description down below. Use code AHSOKA in all caps to get $7 off your order. May the force be with you, and enjoy the vid.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we have some new and exciting teases for what we can see in the future of the Mandoverse. We're gonna go ahead and hop right on into it. In this video we are going to be taking a read from the Direct's article. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. As a read, the Mandalorian's Katee Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan Kryze in the live action and also voiced the character in the animated Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, expects there to be some type of crossover between Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano at some point in the near future. While Bo took back Mandalore, Rosario Dawson's former Jedi was working with Sabine Wren and Hera to stop new enemies from finding and bringing back Grand Admiral Thrawn from a distant galaxy in the Ahsoka Disney Plus show, by which I think we all know how that ended. And while they failed to do that, the team did get reunited with the exiled Ezra Bridger and brought him back to the main Star Wars galaxy. The twist of it? Well, both Ezra and Thrawn got back to their home galaxy, but now Ahsoka and Sabine were left behind in the other galaxy, Peridea, with no way back. Has the ship sailed for Ahsoka and Bo-Katan to meet on screen in live action seems to be the question that's posed, and I don't really believe so. I definitely think that there's a future for Ahsoka and Sabine to return in the Mandoverse in the normal, actual, Star Wars galaxy that we all know and love, back where everybody else is, and escape from Peridea. I think that this whole idea is even posed in the first place to begin with, and is something that's been discussed before, of course, as well. Something I think at this point is kind of getting long overdue is for the fact of that, well, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka are good friends and worked together many of times throughout the animated shows, the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Even calling back to The Mandalorian Season 2 when Bo-Katan Kryze makes her live-action debut and tells Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, where to go find her friend, Ahsoka Tano. They know of each other and have to have been in contact with each other. I think that's something that's kind of confirmed, seeing Bo-Katan knows Ahsoka's whereabouts, at least then, maybe not really now. And so, in a recent exclusive interview with The Mandalorian's Katee Sackhoff, the Direct's Russ Millihem was able to talk about the possibility of Bo-Katan and Ahsoka crossing over and meeting up again in live action in the Mandoverse. The two characters share a history, as I had mentioned, after all having shared some time together defending Mandalore in the Clone Wars Season 7. But does the star think that they'll cross paths in live action and in the future? Katee Sackhoff admits that she can't imagine that they wouldn't at some point. She says that, in quotes, "Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that they wouldn't at some point, but, again, I have no idea, I have absolutely no idea. They don't tell me anything until I show up at work with my script in hand." Ending that quote right there. And that really is a very real thing, calling back to the Book of Boba Fett, the Luke Skywalker-centric episode of where Ahsoka meets up with Luke and Grogu, and they're all training, and Din Djarin's there all of a sudden as well. That was something that Rosario Dawson didn't have any idea that was going to happen, because they do use Mark Hamill, the original Luke Skywalker, and some of those stand-in scenes on set for that episode. So all of a sudden, Mark Hamill's there as well, and none of them knew that that was going to happen. Bo-Katan also shares a history with Sabine Wren, who's left in Peridea with Ahsoka. So what would she think of the Mandalorian Jedi that she's become, kind of merging the two, training as a Jedi whilst also taking on a Mandalorian lifestyle? She says that, in quotes, "I think that Bo has always worked side by side with the Jedi and the Mandalorian people, and I think that she sees the benefit of the two groups working together, and I think that she would probably think nothing of it other than, wow, that's pretty wonderful, good for you." Ending that quote right there. And that is a very real thing and a very interesting question, because there's two sides of Mandalorians. There's other coverts and other groups that don't like the Jedi, don't want anything to do with the Jedi, very similar to Din Djarin, the Mandalorian's covert with the armorer, and, well, not really Paz Vizsla anymore, but kind of that whole covert with the Mandalorians that don't like to take off their helmets. Working with Jedi is something that they don't want to do whatsoever. It does seem, though, in the recent, especially with the Mandalorian Season 3, that it's something that they're kind of growing out of. And on the other hand, there's other Mandalorian groups like Bo-Katan's Night Owls that love to work with the Jedi, and they do it all the time. And so, while Bo-Katan didn't appear in Ahsoka's first season, the threats of the show will almost certainly come to Mandalore's door at some point in the first, namely Grand Admiral Thrawn, in the near future, possibly potentially with the Mandalorian Season 4, or even Star Wars Skeleton Crew. When asked about how Katie Sackhoff's Mandalorian warrior could be used against Thrawn and his forces, the actress noted that Bo-Katan has always been incredibly strategic and methodical, while her people are a phenomenal military asset. She says that in quote, "Well, you know, I think that the Mandalorian people have a lot of rebuilding to do for one, but I think that the Mandalorians have always been a phenomenal military asset, so you know, I don't know, she's always been incredibly strategic and methodical, so I think that those skills could be useful, but you never know." Ending that quote right there. These are really interesting reveals and very interesting things to think about, and it is something I think that's kind of long overdue. Something that a lot of Star Wars fans would love to see in the future is when Ahsoka and Bo-Katan do like meet up again in the future. For the time being, as of right now, it doesn't seem all that likely while seeing the circumstances of Ahsoka and Sabine stuck in this other distant galaxy, so maybe Bo-Katan could be a part of the rescue mission for that, I think is something that would be interesting. Or maybe they'll just meet together on the battlefield while taking on Thrawn and his forces. So, this all being said, when might Bo-Katan and Ahsoka actually meet again in the Mandoverse? With Bo-Katan and Ahsoka both now finally in live action for one, it would be strange if they just never cross paths again, especially with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau at the helm. Though, with Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka hero stuck in another galaxy, that reunion might have to wait for a little while. If Ahsoka does get a season 2, which is seeming very much likely each and every day, something that we are constantly covering and talking about here on the channel, all the more reason to grab that subscribe button and that notification bell if you haven't already. It seems very likely, given Dave Filoni's recent promotion at Lucasfilm, it's hard to see where Bo-Katan will come into the picture, at least in direct relation to Ahsoka herself, and where they're actually able to work together in the Mandoverse. And with Thrawn back in his home galaxy and as opposing threat, ready to restore the Empire, Mandalore is surely going to end up in his crosshairs at some point. Not because the Mandalorians necessarily see Thrawn as a threat as of right now, quite yet, but because Thrawn sees the Mandalorians as a threat. There is also the given idea that Thrawn wouldn't ever even think or bother to check on Mandalore or the Mandalorian people because he does think that they're completely extinct because of the events of A Night of a Thousand Tears that we see between the Empire and Mandalore at the end of the original trilogy era. Then again, it is Thrawn. He's highly strategic and, well, big blue-brained, of course, so he'll probably double-check on that. Anyway, I think that the safest bet would be to say the moment will, at the very least, latest, occur during the big Mandoverse crossover movie, whenever it does materialize. For right now, we're hearing that it would be coming out around 2027. This Mandoverse movie is going to be written and directed by Dave Filoni, as announced officially and confirmed at Star Wars Celebration earlier this year. Perhaps those seeds can be shown in both Ahsoka Season 2 and The Mandalorian Season 4 ahead of time, and kind of lay the groundwork for that. Until then, Bo-Katan and her people on Mandalore have a lot of healing and rebuilding to get to anyway. And so guys, of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.